She smiled. Guys are always interested. I named them. Her friends went silent as reality hit. All right, Reddit. So Blake's backyard smelled like charcoal and lighter fluid on that Saturday afternoon in June, and I was the guy manning the grill because someone had to make sure the chicken didn't turn into bird jerky. Evelyn floated around the patio with a plastic cup and this smile that didn't look like the one I married 7 years ago. The smile was different, like she'd traded in the soft edges for something sharper. The kind of smile you give strangers at networking events, not your husband at a backyard cookout. She parked herself next to Tyler, my buddy Blake's husband, and laughed at whatever garbage line he was feeding her. Leaned close. That kind of close that makes you wonder if personal space is just a suggestion now. I flipped a chicken breast, watched the fat spit, and kept my mouth shut for a solid minute. I'm a project coordinator for a mid-sized construction firm, which means I've spent 10 years learning how to read situations and anticipate problems. That skill translates to life outside the office. Then I walked over with the tongs wrapped in a paper towel, catching the end of her laugh. Some joke about travel or ambition or whatever Tyler thought passed for charm these days. What's funny? I asked. Casual, eyes on Tyler. Nothing, she said too fast. The laugh died in her throat like someone hit the mute button. Tyler cleared his throat like he'd swallowed a bug. The little slice of conversation died like a bad song, cutting out mid-chorus. He glanced at the grill like it might save him from this increasingly awkward moment. You want me to take over, man? You've been at it for a while. I'm good, I told him. My tone wasn't aggressive, but it wasn't exactly friendly either. He was already slipping away like a kid dodging chores, heading toward the cooler like he suddenly remembered he needed a refill. I should help the girls with salads, Evelyn added, as if the thought had just occurred to her naturally and wasn't a transparent escape route. She put her cup down like she was donating it to charity and disappeared toward the kitchen where Jessica and the other wives were assembling side dishes. The air felt colder for a second, despite the June heat. I stood there with the tongs in my hand, not sure if I'd imagined the whole thing or if I'd just walked in on a joke where I was the punchline. The chicken sizzled. Someone's kid screamed with joy from the inflatable pool. Life continued like nothing happened. If I'd known where that moment was headed, I would have left the chicken raw and driven home right then. I finished the grill shift, dumped the platter on the picnic table, and sat down at the end near Blake's shed. Evelyn didn't sit with me. She floated again. Different group, same smile. Tyler kept a healthy distance from me and a not-so-healthy distance from her. I ate my chicken and potato salad. I smiled at people. I listened to Owen talk about boat maintenance like it was some kind of spiritual practice, detailing the importance of proper hull cleaning with the enthusiasm of a TED Talk speaker. On the drive home, Evelyn stared out the window like the streetlights owed her money. The silence stretched between us like taffy, getting thinner and more fragile with each passing block. You were glued to your phone during dinner, I said, keeping it level. Not accusatory, just stating facts. She didn't look at me. Work chat, on a Saturday. People have jobs, Kyle. It came out flat. Like I was thick for not knowing better. Like I'd just asked why water was wet or why the sky was blue. And you were pretty cozy with Tyler at the barbecue. Don't be dramatic. Not dramatic. Just checking what we're doing now. We're not doing anything. You're grilling. I'm talking. That's how parties work. She looked at my hands on the wheel. You're gripping like you're in a storm. I loosened my fingers. Hadn't even realized I was white-knuckling the steering wheel. I'll change it up then. Do whatever you want. She went back to the window. Our house was 2 blocks away, but it felt like I had a few extra miles to drive. Those 2 blocks might as well have been 2 states for how distant we felt in that moment. The next morning, she moved through the kitchen like she was allergic to eye contact. I brewed coffee using the French press she'd bought me for Christmas 3 years ago, back when we still did thoughtful gifts. Poured 2 mugs and slid one toward her across the granite countertop we'd picked out together when we renovated the kitchen. She picked it up, sniffed it like she was inspecting wine at a restaurant, didn't say thanks. Let's set a baseline, I started. You with me? Is this a team meeting? She took a sip. I didn't get the calendar invite. Look, last night was weird. You and Tyler, the phone thing. I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. She set the mug down and folded her arms across her chest. Defensive posture. I'd seen it before. Usually, right before an argument, neither of us would win. So I'm not allowed to be sociable now? You're allowed to be anything. I'm allowed to set my standards. I don't do disrespect in public. If I run the grill while you run commentary with men who aren't your husband, that's not a marriage. That's a sitcom. Wow. She blinked like I'd told a joke she didn't get. You're insecure. I'm observant, I corrected. Here's how we're going to do this. I'm taking my space this week. Separate plans, separate cars to events. If you want to talk, use full sentences, not sarcasm. Don't you dare police my tone. Then don't act like a stranger. I checked my watch. The Seiko my dad gave me when I graduated college. The one I'd worn every day since. I've got a meeting at 9. I'm done asking to be treated like a person. She laughed once. Sharp. Like a bark. Men who handle grills think they run the world. Men who handle themselves do. I grabbed my keys from the hook by the door. We've got a cookout at Blake's next weekend. I'm not going unless this shifts. I'm not signing up to play background again. I'll live, she said, examining her nails like we were discussing the weather. Take your space. Make your rules. I'll be over here not caring. Great. Then you won't mind if I rework the budget. What's mine is mine. What's shared is shared. I'll send you the numbers tonight. That landed. Her eyebrows lifted a fraction. First sign of actual concern I'd seen all morning. You're serious? Stone serious. I pushed my chair back. The legs scraped against the tile floor with a sound that felt final. I'll move into the guest room for now. Try texting when you're late. One-liner. Professional courtesy. She stared at the fridge door, specifically at the magnet holding our wedding photo from Costa Rica. You think you can guilt me into something? I think boundaries are how adults avoid chaos. I walked out, got in my truck, drove to work, didn't look back at the house. At the office, Logan swung by my desk around 10:30. He's the senior project manager, a guy who wears the same stainless steel watch to every meeting because he says timekeeping doesn't deserve mood swings. Built like someone who used to play college football and hasn't entirely let himself go. He's also the kind of guy who can read a room better than most people can read a book. You look like someone canceled a fishing trip, he said, leaning against my cubicle wall. Close. Someone canceled basic respect. He leaned his knuckles on the cubicle wall, making the fabric partition bend slightly. Fix it or leave it. The middle is where you drown. Simple advice. The kind that sounds obvious until you're actually living it and realize how hard it is to commit one way or the other. Most people spend their whole lives treading water in the middle. By lunchtime, my phone buzzed a few times. Spam pings. Nothing from Evelyn. I turned the ringer off and got lost in spreadsheets detailing material costs for the Henderson project. Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't make you feel small in your own marriage. Numbers just are. That night, I parked in the driveway and watched the porch light for a minute before going in. It was on, which meant she was home. For some reason, I'd half expected her to be out again, continuing whatever pattern we'd apparently started. Inside, the guest room had fresh sheets. I'd pulled them out of the linen closet before work that morning, some part of me already knowing this wasn't a one-night thing. I set my gym bag down there like I was checking into a quiet hotel and went to the kitchen to handle the practical stuff. Budget's on the laptop, I said, pulling up the spreadsheet I'd built during my lunch break. I split recurring bills down the middle. Your subscription stacks are on your card now. Joint account stays active for mortgage, utilities, groceries, nothing else. My truck payment stays on my side. She didn't look up from scrolling on her phone, probably Instagram, based on the rhythm of her thumb movements. You're making this transactional. It already was. I'm just labeling the drawers. And what if I don't agree? Then don't use the joint card. Easy. She set the phone down and finally met my eyes. First time all day. You're making this worse. It got worse the second you started acting like I should be grateful for crumbs. She smirked. Actually smirked. So now I'm handing out crumbs? I'm telling you what I see. I rinsed an apple at the sink. Took a bite. The crunch was loud in the quiet kitchen. We can reset or we can drift. I'm not chasing. She picked up her phone again. Conversation over, apparently. Drift is fine. Copy. I finished the apple and dropped the core in the trash. I'm meeting the guys at Murphy's Wednesday. Don't wait up. Wouldn't dream of it. Wednesday came around like clockwork. I met Dante and Logan for dinner at Murphy's Steakhouse and watched a game on mute while we talked about everything except my marriage. Dante told this story about his kids stuffing a Lego into the toaster that morning, and we laughed until our sides hurt. The kind of laugh that makes you forget you're supposed to be miserable. I got home at 10:30. The house was dark except for the hallway light we always left on. The guest room felt like a decision, not a punishment. Like I was choosing something for myself rather than being forced into it. At Blake's cookout that weekend, I stuck to my rule. Separate car. I parked on the street 3 houses down, walked in with some snacks I'd grabbed from the store, and nodded at anyone who made eye contact. Didn't seek anyone out, didn't avoid anyone, just existed. Evelyn arrived later with Jessica and Melissa. She didn't look for me, which was fine. I wasn't looking for her either. Blake handed me a spatula like last time, clearly trying to recreate the dynamic from 2 weeks ago. I handed it back. Got it? He said, confused. Like I just refused a life preserver on a sinking ship. You cook today. I'm off kitchen duty. Observing. I tipped my head toward the crowd gathering on the lawn. See how people behave when they don't have smoke in their eyes. He whistled low. Okay, man. Your call. He gave the spatula to Tyler, which felt appropriate in a way I couldn't quite articulate. From across the lawn, positioned near the fence where I had a clear sightline, I caught Evelyn watching Tyler again. He said something. She touched his forearm a second too long, fingers lingering like she was testing the waters to see if anyone would notice. I noticed. I turned to Blake. Give me 5 minutes, I said. I've got something important to say. Important thing? You'll see. I walked to the middle of the yard, picked up an empty bottle from the recycling bin, and clinked it against the side of a planter. Heads turned. Not all, but enough. Quick announcement, I called out, smiling like this was all a joke. Like I was about to propose a toast or thank everyone for coming. If we're doing partner swap banter today, I must have missed the sign-up sheet. The yard went quieter than I expected. Evelyn's smile thinned out like butter scraped over too much bread. Tyler stepped back from the grill, hands up in that universal gesture of innocence. Relax, Kyle, it's a party. I am relaxed, I told him, keeping my voice even. Just letting folks know I don't play that game. I tipped my head to the group and headed for the gate. Didn't run, didn't storm off, just left with the same energy I'd entered with. On the sidewalk, Blake caught up, slightly out of breath. You good? Better than good, I said. I'm done pretending. Dude, that was harsh. Boundary, I corrected. Cleaner than making a scene. Tell Jessica I'm not mad at her. This is between me and my wife. Got it. On my way home, my phone buzzed. Text from Evelyn. That was humiliating. We'll discuss this later. I replied while sitting at a red light. We won't. I'm not doing performance management in private after disrespect in public. Stay consistent. No response. The light turned green. I drove home to my quiet house and my guest room that was starting to feel like my actual room. 2 days later, she slid me a plate at dinner, like we'd rewound the tape. Pasta with marinara, garlic bread that actually smelled good. She even lit a candle, which we usually save for holidays or anniversaries, or those occasions when you're supposed to acknowledge that you're married to another human being. You're quiet, she said, twirling pasta on her fork. Work, I said, keeps me quiet. She twirled pasta, watched me like I was a puzzle she was trying to solve. I'm sorry about the other night. I didn't think. Tyler's an idiot. I shouldn't laugh at stupid jokes. I don't care if he's funny. I care if you make me a spectator. I took a bite of the pasta. It was good. She'd always been a decent cook when she put effort into it, which had become increasingly rare. Put the fork down. Thanks for dinner. She reached over and touched my wrist. Light touch, testing. Can we call a truce? I don't want this Cold War. Truce implies we're on teams. I'm not your opponent. I slid my wrist back gently but firmly. I'm your husband until I'm not. Don't test that line. I'm trying, she said. And for the first time in weeks, she actually sounded sincere. That's good. Keep trying for the rest of the week. She was almost normal after that. Less phone at the table. A couple of soft texts midday. How's your day? Need anything from the store? Small things that used to be automatic in our marriage. I responded politely and stayed in the guest room. The guest room had become my space. I'd brought in a small bookshelf, moved my alarm clock, even got one of those reading lamps that clips onto the headboard. It was starting to look less like a temporary arrangement and more like a permanent situation. She hovered at the doorway one night, leaned on the frame with her arms crossed. You coming back to our bed? She asked. Not yet. Punishing me? Protecting myself. I kept my tone neutral, not angry, just factual. Let's get to calm before we get too comfortable. She rolled her eyes, and the moment of vulnerability passed. You love lectures. I love clarity. Friday rolled around. I worked late on the Henderson project, trying to resolve a supply chain issue that threatened to push us past deadline. When I got home around midnight, her car wasn't in the driveway. I unlocked the door, set my bag down in the entryway, and stood in the quiet for a minute. She came in at 1:30. I heard her heels clicking on the hardwood floor before I saw her, eyes bright like she'd been staring at neon for hours. Makeup still perfect, dress still crisp. Work, she said before I could ask. Client dinner. At 1 in the morning? Who's the client? Why do you need a name? She dropped her purse on the chair by the door with more force than necessary. You're not my boss. I'm the person who pays the mortgage with you. I need to know if you're safe. I'm an adult. I can be safe by myself. She brushed past me, trailing perfume I didn't recognize. Not the one she usually wore. Text next time, I said to her back. She didn't answer. The next night, same story. No text, no courtesy call. She drifted in after midnight smelling like someone else's night out. Some expensive restaurant or bar, based on the faint smell of grilled something mixed with that perfume. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling and counting the glow-in-the-dark stars some previous owner's kid had stuck up there. That truce had a hole in it big enough to drive a truck through. Sunday morning, I put on running shoes and went for a long loop around the neighborhood. 6 miles. Gave me time to think without the distraction of the house, her presence, the weight of everything unsaid. When I got back, sweating and slightly clearer-headed, Evelyn was on the phone whispering in the kitchen. She hung up the second I walked in, practically jabbed the end call button. "Who was that?" I asked, grabbing water from the fridge. "Mom, did she get a new number? Your mom's area code changed overnight?" She bristled. "You're tracking area codes now?" "I'm tracking facts. They're easier than feelings. You've turned into a detective." "Not yet," I said. I took a shower, dressed in fresh clothes, and sat at the desk in the guest room. Pulled up my laptop and started looking into options. Not for drama, for clarity. I needed eyes on the situation. Not assumptions, not gut feelings, not paranoia. Facts. Hard evidence. So I reached out to an old buddy from college, Troy, who does security consulting for corporate clients. Guy's solid, discreet, knows how to document things properly without turning it into a circus. Called him Monday. "I need a favor, low profile." "What kind of favor?" "The kind where I need to know if what I'm seeing is real, or if I'm losing my mind." "Your wife?" "Yeah." He let a beat go by, probably deciding if he wanted to get involved in something this personal. "You want surveillance?" "I want facts. Photos, timestamps, locations, clean, professional, no drama. I can do that. Give me names and timelines." We met Tuesday at a coffee shop in the next town over, far from my neighborhood and anyone who might recognize us. Troy was early 40s, plain gray jacket, practical shoes that looked comfortable for standing around for hours. He asked questions like he was measuring furniture for a room. Long, precise, no wasted words. I gave him names. Tyler, Blake, Owen. Also their wives because context mattered. Jessica, Tess, Melissa. "You think it's one of these guys?" he asked, writing in a small notebook. "I think it's a pattern. I just want the pattern drawn out so I can see it clearly." "Give me 2 weeks," he said. "Maybe 3. I'll bill you fair. I won't stage anything or try to create situations. You want reality. Reality it is." I walked out feeling like I'd just put a lock on a door I should have locked months ago. Maybe even years ago. Hard to say when things actually started going wrong. These things never happen overnight, no matter how much it feels like they did. For the next 2 weeks, I acted like a man with a plan. Because I was. I worked my regular hours. Hit the gym at 6 in the morning before anyone else was awake. Grabbed dinner with Logan and Dante on Wednesdays at our usual spot. And I stopped playing chauffeur to anyone's social life, including my own wife's. Evelyn noticed the shift. She also didn't change her behavior. "Going out," she'd say, grabbing a jacket from the closet. "With who?" I'd ask. Not because I expected an answer, but because the question needed to be asked. "Don't wait up," she'd reply, as if that answered everything. One night, Jessica called me by mistake. The phone buzzed and I picked up, expecting Dante or Logan. "Lauren, where are you?" Mike said. She stopped mid-sentence. "Oh, Kyle, sorry, wrong number. Everything okay?" She hesitated. I could hear background noise, voices, music maybe. "Yeah, sure. Got to go." The line went dead. That was a thread I didn't tug yet, but I filed it away in the growing list of things that didn't add up. 3 Thursdays in a row, Evelyn came home after midnight with no explanation beyond vague references to work, or friends, or just being out. On the 3rd night, she tried the soft voice again, the apologetic approach. "You still mad?" she asked, leaning on the kitchen counter in a way that probably looked casual to her. "Mad is for teenagers. I'm evaluating." "Evaluating what?" "Whether this is salvageable." She laughed, but there was no joy in it. Hollow. "I love how you talk like a board meeting. Clarity is efficient." "You're boring," she said, then smiled like it was a cute tease. Like calling me boring was flirtatious banter instead of an insult. "I'm stable," I corrected. "Stability pays for this house. Your house, your rules. Got it." She walked past me and I shook my head. Some conversations you can't win because the other person isn't interested in resolution. 2 days later, Troy texted me. "We need to meet." We set it for Monday at noon in the same coffee shop. He slid a folder across the table. Plain, vanilla, no drama. Inside were photos and a typed report. Timestamps down to the minute. Locations with addresses, license plates. A chain of nights strung together like a ledger showing patterns I'd suspected but hadn't wanted to believe. When she said she was with Jessica, he said, tapping one line in the report, she was actually at the Italian restaurant on Belmont with Tyler. Close booth in the back. Hands involved. I saw it in the photo. Her fingers linked with his across the table. Her face tilted up toward him, amused, soft. The kind of expression she used to give me back when we were dating. 2 nights later, a different place, different man. Blake this time. Hand on her back in the parking lot, lingering longer than necessary. The week after that, with Owen. Same routine, different location. She rotated through the husbands of her own friends, like a calendar invite nobody would admit existed. No hotel rooms that Troy could confirm. No red flags you could take to court for concrete proof of physical affairs. But enough. Enough emotional cheating. Enough inappropriate touching. Enough secret meetings. Enough for respect to leave the building entirely. Photos are clear, I said, flipping through them one by one. More than enough, Troy agreed. You want me to keep going? I can document more nights if you need a longer pattern. No. I closed the folder carefully. This is the pattern. I don't need a 4th lap around the track. He nodded. Professional, not judging, just doing his job. What's your next move? Precision, I said. Thanks for this. Send me the invoice. I drove to an empty parking lot and sat with the folder on the passenger seat. My hands were steady. My head was quiet. No rage, no tears, no dramatic breakdown. Just cold clarity about what needed to happen next. I called Mitchell, a friend I trusted who knew how to walk people through endings. Lawyer by trade, but more importantly, someone who wouldn't try to talk me out of what needed to happen or convince me to give her another chance. He answered on the second ring. What happened? I have the data, I said. Not guesses or suspicions. Times, places, photos, hands on tables. Literally. Send me everything, he said, voice shifting into professional mode. All of it. I'll tell you what to collect next for the divorce filing. Keep it quiet for now. No big gestures. No confrontations until the paperwork is ready. I need papers same day when I'm ready, I said. You'll get them, he replied. Do not confront until you're actually ready to move. People spin narratives when they panic. Stay cold. I'm polar, I said. I left work early the following Wednesday. Told my boss I had a family emergency, which wasn't entirely untrue. Went home and mowed the lawn, edged the sidewalk, trimmed the hedges. I wanted everything looking clean and maintained when this went down. As I was putting the mower back in the shed, I saw cars pulling up. Jessica's SUV, Tess's sedan, Melissa's hatchback, all parked in front of my house like they'd coordinated their arrival. The universe had saved me the trouble of scheduling. Inside, I could hear voices before I even opened the door. Laughter. The kind women do when they're trying to sound light and carefree, but there's an undercurrent of tension. Probably talking about their husbands or their kids or whatever the current drama was in their social circle. I walked into the living room still in my yard work clothes. Evelyn looked up from her spot on the couch, surprised to see me home early, and smirked. Look who's home before dinner, she said, with that edge to her voice. Lucky me. Lucky me, I said, setting my keys on the entry table. You're all here. I was worried I'd miss you. One day you might, she shot back. And there it was, the line she'd been building toward. I have a line of men ready to pick me up. Don't forget. I smiled like I'd just heard the weather report. Let the moment stretch out for a beat. Then another. Tyler, Blake, Owen. I let the names hang in the air like smoke. The room changed temperature. You could feel it. Evelyn froze mid-reach for her drink. Jessica's mouth opened. Tess went pale, all the color draining from her face in real time. Melissa stopped breathing for a second, her hand suspended over the coffee table. What did you say? Tess asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Why is my husband's name in your mouth? Jessica said, voice rising with each word. Because my wife put her hands in his, I answered simply. I walked over to the bookshelf where I'd hidden the folder that morning, knowing this moment was coming. Set it on the coffee table, and opened it like I was presenting quarterly reports. Please, take a look. Timestamps included. You'll recognize your men. Kyle, don't, Evelyn whispered, finally finding her voice. I slid the photos across the table. They gathered around like tourists around a map at first, curious, then recoiled like the map had burst into flames. Jessica slammed a hand over her lips. Is this real? Troy's photos were professional quality. Crystal clear, properly lit, no room for interpretation. The Italian restaurant on Belmont, the booth at the bistro near the river, the patio at that wine bar downtown, hands linked across tables, laughs caught mid-moment, heads leaned together like secrets were being traded for dessert. Evelyn, Melissa whispered, picking up one photo and then dropping it like it burned. What is this? She didn't answer. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out, She looked like a fish drowning in air. Jessica looked at Evelyn, then at me, then back at Evelyn. "You knew?" she said, voice shaking. "You knew exactly what you were doing. And you sat in my kitchen last week. You smiled at me. You asked about my anniversary plans. Say something," Tess said, her voice rising with anger now instead of shock. "Say anything." Evelyn pressed her palms together like she could pray her way out of this. "It's not what it looks like." "What does it look like?" I asked, genuinely curious to hear how she'd spin this. "Because to me, it looks like a scheduled tour of other people's husbands." "Did I misread the evidence?" Jessica pointed at one photo with a shaking finger. "That's my shirt. Tyler wore that to our anniversary dinner last year." She swallowed hard. "How could you?" Tess started to cry, then stopped herself with a sharp breath that sounded painful. "We trusted you. We invited you into our homes. We trusted both of you. Don't drag me into her calendar," I said firmly. "I set my boundaries weeks ago. I gathered facts. That's why you're seeing this in my house and not hearing about it in whispers somewhere else." Evelyn finally found actual words instead of sputtering. "Kyle, please, you could have just..." Her hands shook. "We could have..." "Could have what?" I asked. "Had another talk? Another truce? You laughed at those. You had your line ready, remember? One day I wouldn't catch you at home. Well, I caught you. Just not at home." Her eyes went wet, actual tears forming. "You're cruel. You're reckless," I replied without heat. Different skill set. Same result. Jessica slapped the photos back onto the table hard enough to make everyone jump. "I'm done," she said, voice low and vibrating with controlled fury. "I'm telling Tyler to pack a bag tonight." She looked at me, and there was something like apology in her face, maybe even gratitude. "Thank you for showing us. I know this wasn't easy." Tess nodded, wiping at her eyes. "I would have lived in the dark forever," she said to no one in particular. "I would have defended them both." Melissa stared at Evelyn like she was trying to recognize a stranger, searching for some trace of the friend she thought she knew. "You sat on my couch last month and told me to trust Owen more, to give him space." She picked up her purse in slow motion, movements mechanical. "I don't know who you are." They pushed past one another to leave, a traffic jam of betrayal heading for the door. The door slammed once, then again, then softer the third time as Melissa pulled it shut behind her. The house went quiet, that heavy quiet that follows explosions. Evelyn looked at me, mascara threatening to run in black rivers down her face. "Why did you do that to me?" "To you." I gestured at the photos still spread across the coffee table like evidence at a trial. "I did it for clarity. They deserve to know what their husbands were doing. I did it for sanity. I deserve to know what my wife was doing. We could have just ended it," her voice cracked, "without all this public humiliation." "Already handled," I said calmly. "Papers are in motion. Mitchell has everything ready to file. You said one day I wouldn't find you at home. That day is now. You're kicking me out? I'm asking you to pack. Tonight. Take what's yours. I'll have the locks changed in the morning, and the alarm code reset by noon tomorrow." She took a step toward me, hands reaching out like she was going to grab my arms. "Kyle, please. I'm sorry. I got lost. I made terrible mistakes. I can fix it. I'll be perfect. I'll make dinners every night. I'll stop." "Stop," I said, holding up one hand. "You're negotiating with a man who's already left the table." She cried then, soft and fast, the kind of crying that might have moved me 6 months ago. "I don't have anywhere to go." "You have options," I answered, listing them off like a schedule. "Family, hotels, Tyler and his jokes, Blake and his watch collection, Owen and his boat. Take your pick." She flinched like the names were stones hitting her. "They won't. They'll..." "I know exactly what they'll do," I said. "That's the point." She stared at the floor for a long time, watching her tears hit the hardwood. When she looked up, there was something like acceptance tugging the corners of her mouth down. "I'll pack," she whispered. "Good." She walked to the bedroom, and I heard drawers opening, closet hangers scraping. I called Mitchell. "It's done," I told him when he answered. "You all right?" "I'm not thrilled, but I'm clean. Clear conscience. You know where to sign the papers. I'll send the rest tomorrow. Stay even-keeled through the process." "Even is what I do," I said. Evelyn came back through about 40 minutes later with a suitcase and a couple of tote bags. She stopped at the doorway, one hand on the frame. "Is there anything you want me to say?" she asked quietly. "No, I'm not keeping souvenirs of this." She nodded, wiped at her eyes with the back of her hand, and left without another word. Didn't argue, didn't beg again, didn't try to negotiate. The door clicked shut. The house exhaled. Or maybe I did. I picked up the photos, slid them back into the folder, sealed it with the metal clasp, and put it on the top shelf of the hall closet I no longer had to share with anyone. Then I cleaned the coffee table with furniture polish, wiping away fingerprints and tears, erasing the chalkboard so I could start fresh. The next morning, I called a locksmith. Had all the locks changed by 9. Changed the alarm code myself by noon, picking a number she'd never guess. By dinner, the guest room felt like a room again, not a bunker I was hiding in. Just a regular room in my house. Logan called around 7. "How'd it go?" he asked. "On schedule," I said. "Everything according to plan. You need a couch to crash on? I need dinner. We can do that." We ate at our usual spot and watched a game on mute because some habits are good and shouldn't be broken just because your life is falling apart. Dante joined us and told another story about his kid trying to feed the dog green beans, convinced the dog needed vegetables for a balanced diet. We laughed, and I realized my shoulders had dropped an inch without me telling them to. The following week, Mitchell sent documents that read like a manual for taking apart a life without breaking your hands in the process. I signed where I needed to, provided documentation where it was required, and stayed out of the mud of he said she said. Evelyn didn't contest anything. Maybe she understood that her bargaining chips had turned to dust. Maybe her lawyer advised her that fighting this would only make it worse. Maybe she was just tired. 2 weeks after she moved out, Jessica texted me out of the blue. "I'm sorry for what you went through. Thank you for telling us the truth. We're handling our side of this mess." There was a photo attached. A packed suitcase by a door that was not mine. Tyler's bags, presumably. I didn't reply beyond, "Take care of yourself." It wasn't my story to narrate or my drama to follow up on. I'd done what I needed to do. The rest was their business. I heard through the neighborhood grapevine, because neighborhoods always have one active gossip keeping everyone connected, that Evelyn had moved to another city about 4 hours away. New apartment, new job at some marketing firm, new social circle of people who didn't know her history. Her parents lived out of state, and she'd apparently gone there first for a short while before trying to reboot somewhere with fewer familiar faces watching her. No one told me if Tyler, Blake, or Owen followed her or tried to maintain contact. I didn't ask. The universe had already answered that question loud enough in my living room that day. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.